Broadcasting live from Colorado, it's the American Matters Radio Show. Conservative talk radio discussing current events that matter to you. Featuring American patriots across the United States and conservatives around the globe. Bringing you up-to-date information most news organizations refuse to report. And now, here's your host, April LaJune.
Hey everybody, it's April LaJune. It is February 28th, 2018, and there's already people in the chat room, so I think that's pretty good. And just wanted to say hi to everybody. Now, today we have Jonathan Hawley. If you know anything about accepted for value or want to know what accepted for value is, then you can ask the guy who wrote the book, Dissolve Your Debt, in just a few minutes. Thanks for that intro. Kudos there. My producer does a really, really good job on that stuff. So before we get into that, hi Delphi. Hi everybody. I have a couple of things I want to say for those of you who are getting your TDA packages and your credit repair and all that kind of stuff. If you send me 10 emails in a row in one day, I'm not going to answer all of them. That's one thing. Because I don't have time. I mean, between Jennifer and me and Tom, we're getting ridiculous amounts of emails, all from one person. Like somebody will send us 10, then another person will send us 7, and another person will send us 8 in one day or in a 3-day span. We cannot get to that. So when you do that, I'm just going to have to just bypass you and move on because we just don't have time for that. And the other thing is if you call up and you're rude to us on the phone, we have two options. We can fire you or we can help you. But if you're rude, you're done. Okay? Because we're not taking that. So I've had several people who have been very rude on the phone. And I've also had people who do not understand, yes, they are rude and we are hanging up. So just don't do it. It's not worth my time and it's not yours. So, this isn't about being rude and it's not about demanding things. We're doing the best that we can. So we can't do that anymore. We've been as patient as we possibly can, but what's happening is we're getting bogged down in answering the 10 emails from one person or the 8 emails from one person or the 25 phone calls every 5 minutes from one person, and we can't help the other people because we have all of their time being taken up with that. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everybody in the chat room. Definitely want to make sure that you get your questions in today with Jonathan Hawley. So all I'm asking you is if you want us to help you, please understand, don't be rude. And here's this thing about credit repair. If we're doing your credit repair and Tom has sent out your letters, it takes 30 days, 30, not 3, 30, to get back a response. They have 30 days before they have to respond to you, which means if Tom has sent out something for you, your credit is not going to be repaired in a week, especially if you have a lot of things. I literally have papers in my hands from somebody who has a $14 thing from Medical Center that they want us to take that off their credit, a $29 thing that they want us to take off their credit, and that adds up to very little, and we're not quite sure. I mean, we don't have magic wands here. You can either pay that, and we'll help you get it off your credit, but, I mean, come on, really? $14 and $29? Why don't you just pay it? It's cheaper. So that being said, we're doing the best we can. We're getting to you as fast as we can. And so I want to make sure that everybody ggets their stuff. So try to refrain, try to not give in to your impatience, okay? Because it's really getting to be something that's hard to deal with. Okay, so now For those of you who don't understand accepted for value, or even if you do and you want to talk to Jonathan Hawley, he is here, and we're going to have him on in just a few minutes. So we're going to go to a really quick break, and we will be right back with Jonathan Hawley, the author of Dissolve Your Debt.
Donald Trump continues to dominate.
State
Thousands of
all
people.
the way around the convention
Biggest
center,
crowd today.
surging in the polls. Far out.
More than double. Resort will be out.
Trump is different. He's his own man.
Totally fearless. He cannot be
He's the
stopped.
last hope for America.
The silent majority is back.
I came to hear Donald Trump's business plan for America.
It's really cool to hear him actually speak the truth. Sounds like it is.
Make America great. As a guy who's an international student, Trump is speaking out the truth.
He wants to make America great, and that's what I want to.
What's more fun than a Trump rally, right? We have a country that we're proud of and that we love and that we're not going to lose. There is an assault on everything that we stand for, and we're going to stop the assault.
We have a movement going on, folks.
20,000 people in Dallas, 35,000 in Mobile, Alabama. This whole arena packed, and we're sending people away.
We're winning in Iowa, New Hampshire,
South Carolina,
North Carolina,
Florida,
Texas. It's been wild.
His passion is the fabric of America. Work ethic, dreams, drive, and faith in the Almighty. Are you all ready to make America great again?
We're going to bring back our country. We're going to bring our jobs back. We're going to bring our manufacturing back. We're going to start winning again. The silent majority, it's back, and it's not silent. We're tired of being pushed around by incompetent people, and it's going to change. You are going to be so proud of your country again. You're going to remember this evening, and you're going to say to your children that we were part of a movement to take back our country. We will make America great again.
All right, we're back with Jonathan Hawley. This is April LaJune. It's February 28th, 2018. We have a lot of people in the chat room right now who want to know about Accepted for Value. And we have the author of the book, Dissolve Your Debt, which some of you might know is the book written by Jonathan Hawley, who happens to be a guru in Accepted for Value. How are you, Jonathan?
Hi, this is Jonathan Hawley. I'm great. Thanks for having me on, April.
Can all of you hear him? I want to make sure that you can hear him in the... Yes, get out of... Dissolve your debt. That's true. I want to make sure you guys can hear Jonathan. So... Oh, okay. They're saying they can hear you. Perfect. All right, Jonathan. How did you get involved in this debt, dissolve your debt, and how did you figure out Accepted for Value? Because this is like a complicated thing.
It is. Like, you would never... Once you know it, you could do it with a crayon. But figuring it out on your own, you have to be told by someone else. We all should have learned this a long time ago, like public school, but we didn't get it. So the way my path started, ironically enough, but it turns out a lot of people find out about it this way, is by getting into debt. But for me, it was my first semester, my first week at James Madison University going to college. First time out on my own, like so many kids, right? First time away from home. Don't know anybody at school. The only mail I got were 5 ready-to-go credit cards.
Wow.
So the first month of college, I'd already started going into debt, not realizing what it is. There was no classes at the school to actually teach you how to operate these things. I figured out later they had to be, the school had to have colluded with them to put them in everybody's mailbox like that, but they were ready to go. Call up, activate, you're approved. The actual card in the mailbox. So at the end of that first semester, that first half of the year maybe, I was in thousands of dollars of debt, and that set me back years. Mm-hmm. So after coming out the other side of that, you kind of see things, the clear vision, retroactively. I started to look into this stuff and look into the laws. And I got into some debt again after paying all of that off. And I realized, hold on, there's like a cycle here, and this isn't just me, so I started to look deeper. And I frankly spent countless hours looking, researching, digging into this, teaching myself voluntarily about it, looking for the people that I already knew. You know, people taught me about this. I didn't come up with all this stuff. It was put in place 80 years ago, plus, before we were born, a lot of us, right?
Uh-huh.
So countless nights, 8 nights, it could have been, countless weekends researching, then putting it into practice, and then self-publishing a book to teach people to do it. Now, we call it a book. It's a 100-page manual. It's a little manual.
It is a manual.
Yeah, it doesn't take forever for people to understand this, and it rings true because it is. This is all based on fact, history, and law, and I had to find out about it by going through my own personal debt cycle to figure out that there's something else involved here. I mean, I can remember early on getting these collection letters and bills in the mail and looking at those payment coupons and going, what are these things? And then it turned out that there is a whole other level that is the truth and reality, fact, history, and law. And then it's just easily, came about it into a book format for people to educate themselves on this. That's what's happened.
Uh-huh. And a lot of people are asking me about student loans. They ask me about student loans all the time. How can they get rid of student loans?
Sure. The same way, because dissolve your debt is explaining to you how to literally dissolve any claim of debt. Any claim of debt. Now, you put a name to that. What could that be? Mortgage. A student loan, of course.
Right.
Credit cards, insurances, which are really reinsurances. We can go into that later if you want to. But anything that you get in the mail or claimed against you electronically as a claim of debt is viable here. So any claim of debt, U.S. citizens are empowered to go into and get out of debt over and over and over again through the Treasury.
Okay, so can people in other countries do this too?
Yes. The reason why is because commercially, because we're talking about the commercial realm, the commercial world, that aspect of our lives.
Uh-huh.
That all works in a uniform way globally.
Right.
By, as you know, the Uniform Commercial Code.
Yes, of course,
so,
yeah.
all countries that trade and are on the open market and are public entities, right, all around the world,
yes.
they all adhere to the same laws of commerce.
Right.
So a claim of debt here is like a claim of debt in Indonesia. They're
That's
all claims
right.
of debt in the public commercial venue. So it works everywhere. It really is a global thing. Now, interestingly enough, when you know how to properly endorse the billing claim presentments you get in the mail, you're sending them into 3 very specific offices of the IRS in the United States.
Right. Should you send them all at once? I mean, okay. So, for example, there's 3 in the book. There's 3 different addresses. Should you send them, send your endorsed presentments, which we'll get into that in a minute. But should you send them all to these addresses all at once? So you make 3 copies and you send it to all the entities, or just one at a time?
One at a time. One at a time, but in successive order. So you might go, 1 month to Kentucky, next month to Utah, next month to DC. Kind of do it in succession like that on a rotational, cyclical basis. You don't want to overwhelm a system that is already bogged down. More and more people are learning how to do this. There's only 3 places in the country to do it. To send them through. Have them settled through the Treasury. Huge, big, windowless, vault-like buildings that are IRS-owned. Because what is the IRS is really, it's not to pay the taxes, all right? The IRS is the world's largest third-party debt collector. The world's largest. So it's a global operator.
So what are you saying? Okay, so you're saying that if somebody lives in Canada or Mexico or England or whatever, they're still going to use those same 3 addresses? Isn't that
perhaps
interesting?
The individual court system within their venue.
Interesting.
Now, that's a little bit more advanced, but what I'm meaning to say is that everything you learn how to do in Dissolve Your Debt 2, Dissolve Your Debt, is all legally binding. I mean, it's all backed by the federal government. The laws were changed. It stands in court. It stands in court. You can enforce what you've done if they're lollygagging or creditors are pretending like they're not getting the Fed wire from the Treasury and want you to pay again, because they're all about profit.
Yes.
So they're all about doing whatever they can to get you to pay. They hate to see you go. But they know that all unlimited or all United States citizens have this unlimited credit at the Treasury, each of us.
Right.
So they know that the debt's all been prepaid. They know that we're meant to go in and out of debt. It's you or me and our little corporations that have no clue because we're undereducated. So I think I've heard you before in one of your streams mention like the rich know all about this. It is the 1% that are always doing this, and you wonder how they're getting along so well. Well, it's because they know.
Well, so what you're saying is these people are actually sending these accepted for value straight. They're rich. They send their accepted for value straight to the IRS, just like you've been saying in your book, correct?
Right. That's the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be accessible and understandable to all U.S. citizens. You're not supposed to have to be able to know how to go finagle with the court to enforce these things, because it's supposed to all be set up through the Internal Revenue Service, because we were placed into a debt-based economy back in 33 and in the New Deal, and that kind of system persists to this day. We've been operating in bankruptcy the whole time. It's a debt-based serviced economy, isn't it, here?
Yes.
So that's what we're embroiled in. You have to know how to navigate it correctly. 99.9% of the people really don't.
Mm-hmm. I haven't found that. It doesn't seem like it's particularly difficult to do, as far as like just following the directions in your book, and then you when you do the presentments correctly, you just kind of send them off. I didn't really see that it was extremely difficult, but for some reason some of these people, I mean, I've gotten questions, and some of them are forgetting to sign the back of their presentments or something like that. What do you think are the most common mistakes that people make? Are you there? Oh, I think we might have lost him. Oh my gosh. Hey.
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. I can hear you now.
Not sure what happened. I could hear you there.
Okay.
But look, the biggest issue, the most common one, is disbelief.
Well, that's probably true.
That is demotivating to people. People shut themselves out of their own commercial life, because it's an overwhelming thing to realize I've been doing wrong this whole time, and this is why I've been going through what I've been going through. There's a understanding and incorporating this into your reality as the truth, as a real thing, as its practical utility that it's supposed to be. That's how much of an important U.S. citizen you are. You have the power to do this with your debt. That's the biggest hurdle for people, is letting it seep into their consciousness enough where they can start seeing things through new eyes and really separating things out and understanding there's a commercial world. The things that are getting these claims of debt or these bills in the mail is their legal title. It's not them. So we're all sitting around thinking that we're personally liable for all these debts, when in reality we're not. There's a commercial buffer in place. You can sell it to the Treasury. We all have this unlimited credit at the Treasury to offset these debts, because when we're born, it's registered onto a financial instrument called a birth certificate bond.
Right. And so I'm guessing you do a little bit more than just accepted for value. I mean, what do you send when you're sending in the endorsed presentment? And you guys, if you want to know how to make an endorsed presentment, that's why you need to go get the book Dissolve Your Debt, which I'm going to put this link right here so that you guys can get it, because it's very important, I think, that you read the book.
As simple as it is that important. It's so simple, but so grand in scale that can overwhelm people. It can be overwhelming, and I admit that. I went through my own learning curve and awakening process. I learned about this from other people. I had to see it work for myself. But I didn't lose the momentum and motivation to do that by getting too overwhelmed by going, this can't be, this can't be. It is. It is all real. It's all real. All these years, all the people have hated going to the mailbox because it's always full of the bills. Well, the bills have always had the money in them to pay. They come with the payment coupons. That's what they are. Now, what have we, for generations, done? We get the billing presentment in the mail. We tear off the payment coupon, put it back into the free envelope, write a check for the amount on the payment coupon, and then send it back to the creditor.
Right. That's what everybody does.
They know how to monetize the payment coupon. They know how to deposit your check at the commercial bank, right?
Yes.
It's called twinning a stream of income. We've all been paying the bills twice and not getting credit for it. Now, to put that into a relatable type of a situation, it's like working at a job where you get a paper paycheck each pay period. The boss comes and gives you the paycheck with the stub attached. You tear off the paycheck, sign it, give it back to your boss, and then write him another check and give it to your boss, and then come back to work the next day.
Right. That's what people do every day.
Yes. Stop it. Because we're wasting our money. The money that we earn from our labor, like work at a job or a business, we're supposed to keep that for our profit and gain.
Right.
Peace of mind. Not turn it around and give it to debt claimers that have been prepaid. They're sending a payment coupon.
Right.
Now, if you don't know how to endorse it and activate that thing, you're dead in water. You're doing the same thing people have been doing for generations now, and wasting your time and money and your essence. It's not supposed to be that way.
Yes.
Debts have been prepaid. The check is in the mail. You just got to know how to endorse them. So that's what Dissolve Your Debt does, and that's why the manual's so short, because it doesn't take too long.
Well, it doesn't take too long. I didn't think it was really that difficult to understand. Now, some people want to know, can you do your mortgage on this?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do your mortgage?
The same way, the exact same way. It's a billing presentment, just like a credit card bill.
Mm-hmm. So do you do your whole house, the whole thing, or do you just do it in payments, or what?
Do you do any of them for the full balance that they're claiming? You don't have to do making the minimum payments is why it takes, especially with a mortgage or even some unsecured debt, it ends up taking 10, 20 years to pay, because the minimum payments and the interest that they attach to it makes it last forever, which is very good for the creditors of all kinds. It's very profitable for them.
Well,
That's
I would
why
think
they
so.
hate to see people go. They love you for 10, 20, 30 years paying double every month.
Well, of course. That's what they want, that interest, that money, it's almost like triple dipping, it seems like.
Yeah. Because they probably all know how to file 1099 OIDs corporately,
right,
and get back all their expenditures each quarter. There's so many things. The commercial world is very vast, but it's also very complicated, and a lot of it comes to understand how important you really are, who you really are. Give yourself some credit and wake up to what your financial potential really is and what you've been endowed with.
Yes.
I mean, we're heaven born.
Well,
Is it really that surprising that we're all worth limitless dollar signs?
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's another question. Some people are asking me, and they've been asking me this for a long time. Can you get in trouble for using this? Will you go to jail? I mean, because people always say, oh, people are going to jail doing this kind of thing.
Well, I can understand why, because it seems like you're chipping the system or something like that, and you start to these things start playing in people's minds. Remember, it's called Dissolve Your Debt.
Right.
It's for getting out of debt. That's what the laws were changed to do. That's what we're able to do. You go out and try to purchase things with the process laid out in Dissolve Your Debt, you're going to cause yourself a big problem. Mm-hmm. That's illegal. That's not right. That's weird, actually. I mean, imagine I'm going to walk into a car dealership, let's say.
Right.
And I'm going to take a legal pad, rip up a piece of paper, and go, okay, here's the purchase price, here's my signature, car's mine now. No, it doesn't work like that. If you purchase something and go into debt as a result of that purchase, like by using a credit card,
right,
or going like an insurance policy, because that results in a bill every month, these types of things, that's what you're dissolving, the claim of resulting debt. Resulting from the purchase, going into debt for something that you were purchasing is what you can settle or dissolve through the Treasury. Purchasing something straight out, there's no basis for that. It's not for that. It's for the debts that we incur. Because we're placed into a debt-based economy, you can't avoid it. You're going to go into some sort of debt. If you were born, your parents did the little foot stamp on the bond, the birth certificate, and then they filled up the SS5 application, which took your given birth name, turned it into the all-capital legal title, and attached the randomized number to it. Most people commonly refer to that as a social security number, but that same number has different uses and purposes depending on where you have dashes or where you don't. Sometimes it could be an EIN number. So
you're talking about the
changes your work.
You're talking about the EIN number on the back of the Social Security card.
No, your Social Security number turns into, like, if you take the dashes out.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
1, 2, 3,
that's your EIN number.
1, 2, dash 1, 2, 3, 4. You take out those dashes and it's just one long string of 9 numbers. That's a different use and purpose. So it's all about understanding how to properly activate these bill claims and then knowing where to send them within the federal government to have them discharged.
Well,
Very simple.
This person is asking anything we can do to get out of a bankruptcy or cancel it out using accepted for value.
No.
Okay. So
because, shall I explain? Bankruptcy has gone to the nth degree already. It's already, you've gotten to the point where you don't know how to handle your presentments. You can't afford to send them what they're expecting. They've gotten judgments against you in court, blah, blah, blah. You got collections accounts. You go to an attorney, try to qualify for a 7 or a 13. Chapter 7, Chapter 13. Then it's done. it's done.
Okay, now, when I talked to the first person who showed me your book, okay, what he did is he used what you said in the book, and he used the EIN number with the numbers on the back of the Social Security card in conjunction with that letter, and he got a debt discharged letter back, just like, he did everything.
Possible.
Yeah, exactly like you said.
Yep. The way I teach in the manual is a little bit different. You don't have to have access to a red number. Not all Social Security cards are printed on those. A lot of times people that, still have an original might still have that. Really, you don't need that for this process, but I will contend there are more than one way to skin a cat. There really are. You can come at things commercially as you become more aware and advance of this stuff, many different ways, and it's all backed by the court if you know how to speak that whole separate language. So that's why it's more advanced. That's like you need Rosetta Stone for that thing. They should teach legalese. Or people would use that place for what its true function is, but everybody's scared of court.
Well, I know. I get that court question almost every single day. About it's just.
But guess what? It's a bank. The court's a big bank.
Well, exactly. The court is a big bank, and it seems like they're always going in favor with the person who has the most money.
Or the people that they hired that know how to talk the language in there. The people in the court system, they represented their own huge corporation, the entire court system, which has its own divisions and levels. And the judge, the bailiff, the transcriptionist, I can't remember the people with the funny typewriter. The court reporter, okay?
Yes,
the
court
attorneys,
reporter.
they're all on the same side. They all are officers of the court. They all work for that court system. It's a profit-motivated corporation like they all are supposed to be. It's capitalistic, and it's adversarial. And we've all been trained to really be scared of that place because anytime you've ever been there, it's been something that's confusing, scary, you don't want to do it, blah, blah, blah. But you go in there and you sit in a courtroom one day and you look at all the paper that goes back and forth between the judge and their assistant. Money. I mean, all of a judge's documents from the court docket for that day are kept in a safe for a reason. So it's a financial institution. It's not about right and wrong. It's really not about morals. It's about a certain financial language. And there are different levels of law. So I don't want to get too complicated. I want to keep it simple enough for people that are just hearing about this, because really that's where the focus needs to be, on that grassroots level of awareness for this for people, so they can start taking practical advantage of what their birthright is.
Exactly.
It's not happening enough.
Yeah, and somebody was asking me about their child support. How does that work?
Child support? That's a claim of debt.
Well, that's what I thought. So should you do it monthly? Because, some people are having monthly bills and all that kind of thing. How would you do that?
There's an example in the book of a guy who, it was like $28,000. I haven't looked at it in a while because I wrote the thing like 7 years ago. But there's a very specific image or testimonial that supplies an image of a guy who did the whole amount all at once for the total claim for the child support. Now, it's enforced and supported through the court, but unlike a bankruptcy, it's still an open debt claim. It's still something that is owed for a certain period of time, a certain dollar amount. Whereas the bankruptcy wipes it out, it's done.
Right.
That's the Chapter 7. Okay, so I wanted to make that differential there. But any of these debts, you get the credit card bill or the student loan bill or the insurance bill, whatever's due for the rest of the year, or whatever the remaining balance is, you can take it all out in one fell swoop. Why wouldn't you? When your blue ink pen has the power to settle any debt that comes across your table and go back into them later, why wouldn't you? There's no point in doing monthly payments. It's all about doing good commerce. You want to have a good relationship with your creditor, especially creditors that are like utility companies.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So you want to keep them prepaid and happy, send them all kinds of money with the swipe of your pen. Why wouldn't you? So it really boils down to starting to become aware enough to stand as a creditor in commerce instead of being a debtor. Stop being a debtor.
Well, yes. Okay, so this says, will they call us into the bank as a result of the presentments?
Will they call them into the bank?
Will they call them to come into the bank? If you make, let's say you have a mortgage and you pay it through the accepted for value process, and then the bank, do you think the bank is going to call you up? That's what they're asking. Is the bank going to call you up and say, hey, you got to come in here?
No, not, hey, you got to come in. They may try to call and coerce you into a new verbal contract. We didn't get it. You still owe us this. We need a payment arrangement set for blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, they're looking at a Fed wire that just got put the deposit in their account. They don't know. They can't see that. So, yeah, we know what you're talking about. You're 3 months behind us, Bill. We need such and such and such. Be very careful about that type of thing.
Yes.
Like you say, be careful what you say on the phone. I've heard you talk about it.
Yes.
Don't be answering their questions and giving all kinds of. Why would you tip your hand and give them the financial advantage when you're supposed to be looking out for who? So a lot of this also has to deal with. Have you ever heard? I'm sure you have. Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
People are dealing with that. They identify with their captors, the creditors. They want to keep the Sally at the bank happy, or at Visa or whatever. Are you kidding me? I don't care. Your numbers, your digits on a screen. You're a legal entity. You're a corporate entity. That's why they have to send you all these payment coupons. Any corporation, like Citibank, Visa, claiming a debt against another corporate entity, like your legal title, which is your name in all caps, right?
Yes.
They have to provide the remedy to settle the debt claim. They have to provide you the method with which to settle what they're saying you owe. So they got to send you payment coupons.
Right, exactly.
Now, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you just get a notice with a whole bunch of blank space at the bottom on a very particular quality of paper. Well, you write in the payment coupon and turn the whole piece of paper into the value of what the claim is. That's what we're doing. That's what happens. You get a credit card bill in the mail from, let's just use Citibank Visa again. Total balance is $10,000. You got to pay $223 this month. And you end up paying that for another 10 or 15 years, whatever it is. Keep the payment coupon attached. Endorsement part number 1 at the top, above the perforation. Endorsement part number 2, as it's laid out in the manual. And the payment coupon portion, front and back. Leave it attached, marked up correctly. Send it into the Treasury. Settles the debt.
Okay, here's another question, because some people, he's saying, I feel I'm forced to pay child support every month. When does it stop? So how long does it take for your presentments to be discharged normally?
It can, I've seen it take up to 6 months. I've seen it be within 30 days.
Yeah, I saw one that was within 30 days. Like, I want to say 15 days, which was crazy fast.
That's awesome. It should be instant.
Yeah.
It should be instant. But again, it's not like there's an IRS office that handles these type of things specifically, like there are H&R Blocks or Jackson Hewitt's all over in every court. It's not like, it's 3 in the whole nation / world. So imagine in your mind big vault-like buildings with all kinds of mail with the value that they're claiming coming in and out of this place. It's a huge paper mess. And it's been kind of like in this rudimentary state for all these years because only a very small portion of the population has been educated towards it. More and more people know about it. More and more people are accessing it. More and more people are sending presentments. You can imagine what that does to potential time frame. It should be faster. You're very, very lucky. It took months for one of mine. Others very quickly. It can depend, and that really boils down to how you're mailing them in, and what succession, and the frequency. But the truth of it really boils back down to all United States citizens have or are entitled to going in and to and out of debt over and over and over again with no limitation on dollar amount or frequency. So time frame is important, but ultimately it doesn't matter because everything's been prepaid. Why do they do this? Back when they did this New Deal and FDR and his whole administration really changed the world in a quiet way because look how long we still don't know. Not everybody's aware. This isn't public knowledge like things happen on TMZ. It should be, but it's not. So all these years ago, they put this thing into place, and it has operated like this the entire time, and it's a matter of becoming aware of the functionality of it so you can start to use it for yourself and stop doing things wrong. I hope I didn't get off track there, but it may have, because it's really a lot to think about when it's almost like coming back to ground zero to help bring other people back up to where I am. I'm trying to really understand where other people's level of awareness is on this and hit these questions in a way that answers it in a way for them that they totally understand and start putting into motion for themselves without that fear going to jail or something like that. No, we should be going to jail for doing it wrong all these years, but there's too much profit involved in it, and there's motive in having miseducated or undereducated generations of people. Look what it's done for these huge companies now.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
It didn't used to be like this. It really didn't, but it's turned into a diners club plus society, and this is just another aspect of the service-based economy, because you've heard of all the companies out there saying, you've got this and that debt, we'll settle it for pennies on the dollar. These debt relief companies are out there. You hear
Yes, they are.
commercials about them. They're interloping. They're part of the fabric of the service-based economy. They do for you what you need to learn how to do for yourself, for their own profit and gain. It serves a purpose. Not everybody is willing to take that step up for themselves, but more and more people are out of sheer necessity. They can't afford to pay somebody else to do it, or want to. So you got to step into your birthright a little bit, and it becomes easier to do when you realize that all of these changes that allow you to do this now in your present moment have been around before you were born. So this goes back years and years and years, and I hope I'm not rambling. I get very excited about this stuff, and we should. It's a miraculous, beautiful thing that was put into place by geniuses.
Well, exactly. That's how I thought of it. I thought it was a very genius system. Even the system that put us into debt was a genius, intricate way of doing something. And I thought, well, it was a brilliant scheme, but to get out of it is just as brilliant.
Right, because there's an awakening process. There is a spirit.
Oh, I think. Oh, there you are. Okay. He's coming in and out, fading in and out. But yes, you can discharge your student loans, guys. Can you ask him about, student loan debt? He said that you can discharge that, which is exactly what I've been telling you for some time. It doesn't matter what the debt is. You can do it anyway.
As long as it's a claim of debt.
Yes, it has to be a debt. And some of them, okay, so we were talking about credit also. So this is why you have to have good credit, right?
Frankly, my credit was horribly damaged.
Yes, and then you
when
fixed it.
When I started to do this process, it's part of what gave me the gumption to say, "Hey, hold on. And so I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna fix this because my credit is ruined." So really, I've learned a lot about credit over the years. I've analyzed hundreds of credit reports. I mean, I was a mortgage broker for 10 years. I do debt relief full time. Not only just written this book. I just got off my full time job to helping people get out of debt. Aside from this book, 5 minutes before you call. So it's my life. It's a big part of my life.
Right.
All right?
Yes.
Look, we're surrounded by debt. We're surrounded by it. You can't avoid it. You almost, like I said, out of necessity, you have to learn how to do this. You have to get yourself in a position to. But really, for me, it had a healing impact on credit. I didn't have good credit first to get it to work.
Right. Yes.
For me.
Yes. Well, see, that's the thing is, I don't think that you have to have, you don't have to have good credit. People are asking me all the time, do you have to have good credit in order to make this work? Of course you don't. That's the whole point, for one thing. I bet if you want to do more things, you would think that you would want to have
That's when you need good credit for the flexibility to return, to be able, getting out of the debt is part of it, but we're also enabled and entitled to go back into debt. It's a debt-based economy. We have unlimited credit to discharge our debts through the IRS and Treasury. You can go back into debt. Once you get out of it, to go back into it, you've got to have healed your credit. What I found personally that has had the most healthy impact on credit and that financial flexibility returning is getting everything to zero as soon as possible. Not necessarily remove so it falls off like it normally does after 7 years, but to show no more balance owed. Because when it shows an unpaid balance, that's when attached damaging effects hurt credit. Once the balance is at zero, all the attached damaging effects fall away. In my experience, once you incur debt, any little thing has a negative effect, including making minimum payments. People think that that's good for credit. I never pay late. But if you have high debt ratios with high interest attached to them and a minimum payment history, that's killing your credit. And it takes 20 years to get out of the debt.
Yeah.
Right? The sooner you get everything to zero, the sooner your credit can fully heal and that flexibility returns. So if you choose, you can go back in and do that again. Hopefully smarter, wiser this time to advance in life, not get caught up and dragged down. I deal with people all the time that use credit cards for living expenses. There's not a division in people's minds between priority monthly living expenses for housing, food, transportation, utilities, and then the payments they make to their debt. They commingle them.
Right.
It's not supposed to be that way. They're different areas of life with different levels of importance. Priorities are housing, food, transportation, utilities.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to people all the time that sacrifice living expenses to pay the credit card bill because Susie will think bad of them or whatever. Some messed up thing in their mind because they're thinking about what's best for their captor. That Stockholm Syndrome aspect comes into play, and the disbelief portion. So ultimately, I do see it coming back to that a lot. But to keep it specific, in my experience, you want to get everything that is showing unpaid debts, showing paid to zero, settled, whatever way, as long as it's saying zero and reporting that across your credit bureaus, that's what heals the credit.
Mm-hmm.
So, personally, I'm not trying to contradict what your experience has been at
Right.
all, because you're a very knowledgeable person, and I know you know what you're talking about. You wrote a book on it. But I
The
didn't
debt?
I didn't have good credit for what we call accepted for value to work, what we call dissolve your debt. And really what it is, what we're doing on these presentments, it's technically, commercially called, it's a banker's acceptance.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is their technology.
Right. Exactly.
They created this. They use it all the time. How do you think banking really works? It blows people's minds. It blows people's minds. So when it really ends up being, oh wait, these payment coupons are actually the money, it's like, holy crap. I thought Santa Claus was fake. Well, you're Santa Claus.
Well, what about utilities?
Claim a debt. All prepaid.
Now, don't you do over the amount when you're doing utilities, or do you just send them in every month? What do you do?
You can do the whole balance.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask them to project with inflation what you expect next year's usage to be on the electric bill or whatever. Send me a bill for that. Total amount for next year. Endorse it. Send it back in. Develop a great relationship. Develop a great relationship with them. Ultimately, that's what they want. But these companies, you got to understand from their perspective, too, they're used to getting paid twice monthly for everything from everyone.
That's true.
It's a shot. If everybody started to do this at once, do you know how much pure profit all these huge corporations that we kind of look up to in a way as essentials in our life, how much profit they'd lose?
Oh, yeah. It'd be tons.
Yeah, a lot of people. There's already been huge fallouts with lenders and banks over the past how many years. Imagine if it was on an even bigger scale like it would be, should be, will be.
Yes, I know there's a lot of people doing it, but the percentage is pretty low compared to all the people that just keep going and working on the grindstone every day and don't even use this at all.
30 million people in the country. I mean, we're talking about maybe 5% of people know, 15% maybe, if we're doing a good job and getting this, helping people's awareness raised about this stuff. But I mean, it's still the far minority. The majority of people care about Kardashians.
Right, they do.
That's sickening.
I can tell you, I haven't watched any of those shows for a really long time. In fact, I never did that at all. April, would that reduce his worth or asset value? How could that possibly reduce your asset value if you got everything paid off? I don't get that at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's only when you have debt that you face the possibility of being upside down, owing more than you're actually worth, being insolvent. When you're out of debt, even a penny puts you on the asset side of things.
Exactly.
So that's why it really revolves around, learning enough to allow your perception to change where you can operate and view things commercially correctly from the viewpoint or mindset of a creditor instead of the debtor-based mindset that we've all been kind of bred into.
Some people are asking about their property taxes. What about that?
Claim a debt.
Yeah, if it's a debt, you can use accepted for value, guys. That's what he's saying.
If you're getting a bill from a company saying you owe this, here's the total amount, and here's the monthly payment we'd expect, that's a claim of debt. That's a claim of debt. It comes in different forms.
Well,
it could be a utility insurance.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you another question. Did you file a UCC one?
Yes,
for yourself?
I am a secure party creditor.
See there, guys. He's filed a UCC one. I filed a UCC one. So, every single person that I know of who's successfully done this has filed their UCC ones.
But I mean, that puts you as a secured party creditor. It puts you in a position to do more than just this debt dissolving capacity.
Oh yeah.
That's in place for every U.S. citizen, no matter what, from birth. Once you become a secure party, you can start writing your own promissory notes and bonds.
Yes, that is true. I haven't gotten into that part yet. I'm still working on part one.
Right, there's a lot to learn and important stuff to learn. This is called voluntary education. You got to be willing and motivated.
Right,
Pick it up and
exactly.
go. So I tried, in this Dissolve Your Debt ban, I tried to encapsulate that, break it down for the layperson, and put it into hopefully a position where anybody can pick it up and start using what has effectively been in place for them their whole life, whether they knew it or not, immediately. It doesn't take, it takes maybe an hour to read all 100 pages. It's
Well,
not
that's
that
true.
hard.
It didn't take me that long, and I just follow the procedure exactly as you laid it out. So, but I did add the postage stamp. What do you think about the postage stamp?
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I'll tell you this, that goes into the truth and reality of what's going on here even further. All
Well, yeah.
U.S. post offices are supposed to function as banks.
It's almost every time you turn around, every single thing is a bank.
Right, including you, including me.
Yeah, exactly.
April, U.S. citizens, we're the money for the entire world.
Well, yeah. If it wasn't for us, they wouldn't have anything.
But let's really break it down, because there's so much important truth to that, okay? The United States dollar is the backing value for all other world currencies.
Well,
The
that
only
is true.
The only nation in the world that's like that. Every other country has their own national currency, but it's all backed and based off of the U.S. dollar. What backs the U.S. dollar? It used to be gold bars.
Yes.
What happened in the New Deal? U.S. citizens became the backing value.
Exactly. They changed it from gold bars to people. Yeah.
Right. We're shining stardust, right?
Exactly. Uh-huh.
We're living souls. How much is that worth?
Well, apparently it's worth quite a bit to them.
We are
Billions.
Don't be limited by what a dollar sign symbol really means or how many zeros something has behind a comma. You're all of that and more. You're the backing value and are the money. I'm the backing value and am the money. And so is every other person.
Mm-hmm.
So the power of your blue ink pen will take any claim of debt that you receive and turn it into a huge piece of money for the value that you write in there.
Right. Now, somebody asked, can we describe again the process, what we do to forward the debt? So the process of going through accepted for value, which is what we're talking about. And also, for those of you who just came in, we're talking to Jonathan HAWLEY, and he is the author of the book Dissolve Your Debt, which you can get on Amazon. And after the show, I'm going to put a link down there. It's a really, really good book, and you need to read it because it's just amazing, the information that's in there.
Cool. It's so nice of you to say that. It's an honor to hear that from someone like yourself. It really is. But
Thank you.
Let me emphasize, it is not a novel or a tome
No, it's not.
or a dictionary. It's a 100-little-page manual.
It's a manual that is very valuable.
Yeah. But really, what it will show people is that this is stuff we all could have got when we were senior in high school. Taught nobody.
Uh-huh.
And then what happened 6 months later? I'm in college with thousands of dollars of credit card debt because the school just allowed them to put it in my mailbox ready to go. Well, what the heck is going on?
Exactly.
That is so messed up. But what a path of awakening it's been. I am so glad that it happened because I realized the value in that. And I've really seen that after all these years. Once people have got into debt and made it through navigating that, whatever way it is, and they're out of it and they're looking back on it, they go, I'm not going to do that again like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. But still, so many people just that is their raise at their job.
So
or that is how they pay for the gas and the food and the groceries.
Exactly.
They go into debt to live.
Yes.
So that's why it's so key to stop thinking and living as a debtor.
Mm-hmm.
Be a creditor and stand in your power more. You have to at some point, because that's why this is rising to the surface like it is. It's because it's out of necessity now. There's not enough money in circulation.
Well, if you're in a different country like Canada or Mexico or something, I get a lot of Canadians asking me, how do they file their UCC-1s?
Well, it can vary by country, can vary by state, as you know, in the United States.
Mm-hmm. I would guess they could look it up online just like we do here in the United States. Yeah.
Yeah, there are different ones for state, province to province, country to country, but they all basically revolve around the same notion that the world globally, commercially, operates in a uniform code of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
as we talk about in the manual, exporters in Nigeria have to operate on the same basis of standards of commerce that the importers in Japan do. Otherwise, they can't keep the books. They can't do commerce. They can't exchange. They can't trade. The whole world operates under that same commercial system. But who thinks in those terms?
Well, exactly. Now, Penny's asking a question. Do you have to sign your name in all caps now?
No, that's your legal title.
Right. It's the difference between the straw man and the real living human being, because if you're a real living human being, that's not how you would write your signature. So you are a representative of the straw man. So you got to remember there's two different things.
And this is important to point out too. Despite the formulaic aspects of how you do endorsement part number 1, how you write this in this way, and then endorsement part number 2 on the payment coupon portion of the attached bill.
Right.
When you sign your wet ink blue signature in the appropriate places on that completed endorsement, it's not until that point that it turns into money to settle it. Mm-hmm. So your signature is the key component to everything that you put in the proper protocols and the proper format.
Now,
without the signature, it's not new money. But
now,
what we're doing, when we properly endorse a bill, you are creating new money.
Yes, every single time, even if it's a promissory note.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it is the money. Yeah, that's
yeah.
Exactly fine. I mean, that's important when it goes back to the mortgage aspect and the home aspect of it. Like I said, I used to be a mortgage broker for 10 years, hundreds of settlements.
Right.
Now, you may have been through that process too. Maybe other people that are listening have been too. You get to the settlement table finally, after the illusions of qualification guidelines and different things the hoops you got to jump through. You get to that settlement table, they slap a slab of paper in front of you that's like 4 inches thick, like 70 pages.
Uh-huh.
These are the settlement documents. This is what puts everything in. This is how you get the keys, or this is what gets the refinance done, or whatever it is. One of the first things you sign in that huge stack of settlement paperwork is the promissory note. When you put your wedding signature on the $350,000 promissory note, you turn that promissory note, which is the same as the 20 in your pocket, into a $350,000 bill.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go through the disclosures. One of the last pages in that huge stack of settlement paperwork is the mortgage financing agreement. That's where the real estate agents, the mortgage broker, the title agents collude to coerce you to go into debt of what you own free and clear since the beginning when you sign the promissory note.
Well, does it matter what color ink you use when you're signing?
Sign in blue ink.
Yes.
Go get blue ink, big pens at the stores. Like $1.79 for 10 of them.
Exactly. Now, somebody asked about back taxes, IRS back taxes. What about that?
Claim a debt.
That's exactly what I thought. That's what it's amazing how many times I answer that same question every single day.
They'll send you a bill.
If it's a debt, if it's a bill, you're going to use accepted for value. Now, some people probably don't know what a presentment is. Would you like to explain that?
Yes, that is me formalizing what we call a bill, colloquially.
Mm-hmm.
Bill in the mail. The bills in the mail that we get are the billing presentments or the claims of debt, quote unquote, that we're talking about dissolving through the Treasury, based off of what was put into place in the New Deal. A claim of debt is a bill.
Right.
A bill in the mail saying you owe X for whatever type of product or service, that's what we're talking about. You can dissolve, and always have been able to.
Right.
That's why.
And these presentments go to the IRS. They don't go to the creditor, correct?
No, don't send them to the creditor. They'll play a game with you.
Yeah.
I've talked to CEOs of huge companies and the CFOs. Like, we don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
Oh, they know exactly what we're talking about,
right.
Yeah.
I've actually said to, like, the CFO of AT&T, are you willing to say you don't know what I'm talking about on the public record in court?
Mm-hmm.
That's when the phone got disconnected.
Well, isn't that convenient?
Yeah. So it goes all the way to the top, and what you find when you get all the way to the top of it is you.
Mm-hmm.
You're at the top of it as soon as you're ready. That's why I'm not on video. That's why I'm talking on the phone. I value my privacy more than ever.
Yeah.
This is bigger than me and my pudgy face. This is everybody. This is a grassroots thing. I'm just telling you about it. It's for everybody.
Right.
And I didn't put it into play. I'm just saying. I recognize this huge educational gap in public school for like everyone. And I said, I'm going to try to do my part. This is my part. I'm not doing this to be a celebrity or any type of focal point. That would make me uncomfortable, frankly. That is not why I'm in this. I'm in this for my fellow woman and man.
Yeah, me
All
too.
right?
Me too.
We're in this together. This is a grassroots thing. This is not going to come from, a newscaster going, guess what happened today? Here's the headline. It's not going to come from that place. You can wait forever.
Well,
They're
what
the ones that
about...
know.
Yeah, I know they do. What about, okay, so you have a credit card and you want to pay it off, or pay it at least. And some people think that their credit card will get canceled.
It is possible.
Yeah, I've heard it's possible too, but I also heard that if you only, because I don't have a credit card, I don't use credit cards, but
Don't do that.
yeah, neither do I. But if you do it that way, then shouldn't you leave a little bit on it so it won't get canceled? I've heard that if you do it that way, it won't get canceled.
Yeah, you can like within a few cents leave a little tiny bit of balance. That might keep it open and available to you. It doesn't mean you want to necessarily go back into debt right away.
Right.
You want to make sure this is working. You want to go through the process. You want to go through your own evolution and change, because there's a huge internal changes when you start doing this. I'm not saying it to scare you, but to empower people.
Right.
Turn into the superhero that you want to be or are already. I mean, come on, we're a big deal. People are huge, and how many of us are there? We're the driving force of the entire global economy collectively.
Well, what
So
about...
stand in that and reap the rewards of yourself. I mean, it's a huge thing you're stepping into. It's very important, and it's out of necessity at this point. It's been bubbling under the surface since the 30s.
Well, that's for sure. And some people are asking again about the utilities. Won't they cut your utilities off?
No, I never had that happen. Like a utility company or anything like that.
I know. I never heard of that either. I just got a $292 credit on my electric bill. So, and my electric's on. So that's what I'm like. I don't think that would ever happen.
What I would recommend is that, because time frames can vary, you get a presentment in the mail or bill, you mark it up, you send it in. What we would recommend that you do is not just take the bill, mark it up, and send it in. Get the bill, make a copy, keep the copy, mark up the original in wet ink, original signature, your handwriting, you're doing it, new, brand new. That's what you send in. You keep the copy until you see credit show up on your statement. Make that monthly minimum payment. Keep it accurate to keep them happy.
That's exactly what I did. I was like, okay, I don't want to get behind on my bill, so I'm going to just keep on, like, I'll pay it, but I put the presentment in, even though that particular one, that amount, I paid that amount, but I still put the bill in.
Get the ball rolling. Start that time clock running, because they're bound by laws of commerce, laws of acceptance, and clock starts as soon as you send that thing off. That's why certified mail is so important, because it creates a registered mail. It's worth spending a couple extra bucks at the post office, because it creates a record, a paper trail, a time clock. They have to respond and start acting within 30 days. Once they do or do not, things change. If they don't, that's when you can enforce it through the courts. You have that power. Lawyers know all about this. They're all bar licensed, right?
Oh, yeah.
The entire court system is. I know we talked about that a little while ago, but you want to start the process. Start somewhere, because things do not start to improve until you do. It's the complacency which has caused a lot of our financial downfall. A lot of people, have been fine, but a lot of people, much more. I mean, look at how many people have been on unemployment and food stamps over the past number of years. It's been a long time. A long time. The economy still hasn't fully recovered. I don't know that anything will really recover it, except this type of thing, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, like it should be. It have been the whole time. It should have been like this in everybody's frame of reference for generations. It's staggering how long it's gone on, but out of necessity, it's coming back up, and it has been probably for 15 or 16 years. There's plenty of people now that are listening. It's just really starting to hear about it. It's there. You need proof. Go look at it. Go get a bill from the mail today. Look at the payment coupon. What does it have at the bottom of the payment coupon usually? You got a barcode, maybe a hologram, but usually long string of numbers, just like on a check. Routing number and account number with those weird kind of numerals, those weird, analog digits at the bottom. It's a check. It's a check. Go prove it to yourself. Go look at your birth certificate. You probably only have a certified copy, but that's you'll never get the original. All our original birth certificates are on deposit at the Department of Vital Records. But we can get certified copies. There are places online that'll do it for like $10 maybe. In a couple days you'll get it in the mail. And it's the raised seal bond.
Yes.
And it looks like a big piece of paper money. It's just not small like you put in your pocket, but it's a big piece, like 8.5 by 11.
Right.
But a really telling aspect of it is you look in the bottom left-hand corner in really tiny print, what it was going to say? American Banknote Company. Hold on, the registration of my birth is on American Banknote Company paper. What does that mean? Well, let me tell you, I mean, it's a financial instrument that has registered your birth as a living soul.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So our existence has been earning money for the federal government corporation since we were a month-old little baby.
Mm-hmm.
Of course we can discharge all our debts against that thing that has more zeros than you can count attached to it. So the Treasury is a huge pool of quote-unquote funds that every U.S. citizen has the right to metaphorically reach into and pull out of what they need to administer to the debt claims that they're going to get over the course of their natural life based off of the debt-based economy that we've been in the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Profound. You could go on and on about it. Look how big it is. And the best thing to do for people hearing about it for the first time is really just analyze the mail that you get that you slave over all these years.
Exactly.
Look at the bills, really, to let your eyes shift a little bit and look at what you're really looking at. Go get a pay stub you get from your job and put it next to it and tell me how much difference there is.
Well, you know what? Another thing that I found out that was very interesting to me, and I didn't know this, was there two things. One, on a check and on the line that you sign your name, it really says in tiny little micro print, authorized signature.
Right. In micro print, authorized signature over and over again. That is actually an essential aspect of endorsement part number 2.
Exactly. And it's also that way on your Social Security card.
Yeah. They're little puzzles, little aspects of the whole bigger game to find out for yourself and get excited about to prove what's really going on.
Exactly.
It's in the pudding. It's been right there the whole time, but we've got blinders on.
Yeah.
We've got debt blinders on because there's been motive behind it. Debt-based economy, don't let everybody know. Everybody's going to be doing debt. Profit wildly. We got the biggest buildings in the city. Well, you can imagine why now. Been paying them double.
Well, exactly. I mean, I thought it was really interesting because the supporting documentation on the microprint, that was so deceptive. And I thought, are you kidding me? Because that goes along that law that you are a real live human being signing for a corporate entity.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're that big. You're that big. You're your own CEO.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding that gives you incredible power and flexibility and stability, peace of mind, prosperity. These are all components of what it really means to be a U.S. citizen, not be the hunched over debtor mindset, creep staring into the corner because your self-esteem has been robbed from you. I mean, come on. Look at all the symptoms. We've already experienced it. Look at the economy. We can just read the news or watch the news daily to see the symptoms of a nation doing it largely wrong.
Yes, exactly.
For all this period of time. That's why we're in this situation. How many hundreds of millions of dollars in debt are we? Trillions? Oh, I'm sorry. It's more. Have you seen that digital clock in New York, the debt clock?
Oh, yes. That's so ridiculous.
I mean, it's just spinning forward and forward constantly. Every second of every day, we're going into more debt by the second.
And it makes these people, it makes these people think that they have to keep working at that grindstone to get that stuff down. And it's completely ridiculous.
No, working at the job, working at the business is supposed to be for prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
Service to the community and your marketplace. Not to turn around and take the earned by labor dollar and go and make a payment to a debt claim that's already been prepaid. They're sending you the check. Holy moly. So I'm going to write another check and give back to you. It's like that example earlier. You get your paycheck at the end of the week at your job, you tear it off, give it back to your boss. and then give the boss another check.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
See you tomorrow, boss. Oh, would you ever do that? No. So why are we doing it with these prepaid credit? They're sending a payment coupon for a reason. That's why I've recommended study it. Look at that thing. See the check. Have the aha moment and go, shit, excuse me, poop. What am I doing this whole time? I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong, and I go by what the majority says based off of mainstream media, and I go into debt on a cyclical basis, especially at the end of the year. Right after Thanksgiving, can't figure it out.
Well, let me ask you a question. Okay, so Linda in the room, she is having a hard time understanding what this is all about. She's afraid that if she gets the book, she still won't understand. So can you start from like ground one? If nobody knew what accepted value was and just said, what's that? Can you start there?
It's the ability to settle your debt for yourself through the government based off of things that were already set up before you were born, by knowing how to properly endorse the bills you get in the mail, how to mark them up, in what way, and then where to send them to have them settled through the Treasury based off of your birth being registered on a birth certificate bond when you were born. I could go further. I don't want to overcomplicate it. Maybe I already have. I didn't mean to ramble or go on.
Well, I hope that answers Linda's question. It's basically a way the government has provided for you to get out of debt. Right?
That's exactly what it is. It's that simple.
Yeah. And so I think sometimes people are making rocket science out of this because there's so much convoluted information out there. And it's really just a simple process of filing a couple of documents and writing the presentments correctly and sending them off to the IRS. I mean, because the IRS is literally paying these for you.
Right. They're providing the administrative level of processing to have it settled through the Treasury. So you send it into the processing facilities, these three places at the IRS. Once you've marked everything up, you gotten the bill, marked it up, you send it to one of these three specific locations at the IRS. They do their duty-bound administrative duty to settle it through the Treasury, make all the communications necessary to actually have a Fed wire or a Treasury check sent back to that corporation claiming the debt for the amount that you put on the completed endorsement, the completed bill.
Okay.
So the IRS functions as the administrative access for what the Treasury then does back for the corporation. So their books are settled.
Exactly.
It's the creditors that play the game pretending like, we know what you're talking about, it's not real, it's not happening, because they want to take that money from the Fed, and they also want your check.
Right.
Because they're used to getting paid multiple times for the same thing. When all of a sudden you cut that revenue stream down to just one time and I'm done, holy, that's scary to them corporately. But they've done fine. They're going to be all right. All right. Maybe they're part of our future. Maybe they're not. Maybe these banks and lenders come into Basel III compliance. Maybe they don't. But understanding how these, because listen, what's described in Dissolve Your Debt was put into public policy and public law back in 1933. This is all part of fact, part of our history, part of the law. So I'm not making all this up. I didn't come up with it. I'm telling you about it.
Did you read any of the writings from Anna von Reitz before you did this? Did you?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. And have you since read any of her things?
I'm aware of her. I've heard her name spoken in different places, but I actually haven't become familiar with what her specific information is. But if you're recommending her,
I think she's great.
I'm definitely going to, because again, this whole manual came about for me by learning it from other people that I found out about that were finding out about it themselves. So it's like a learned thing. You will not figure it out on your own. You have to start exposing yourself to the people that have become aware of it.
I totally agree with that.
Into practice.
I totally agree with that. If I had to think about all this stuff on my own, I mean, it would be completely ridiculous. It would be years before I would even be able to find out what's going on.
Yeah. That's why it really is not a one-person focal point. It's not about Jonathan Hawley. It's not about just April LaJune, as great as you do. Thank God. It's spread out across every citizen of this country. It's that nobody's shoulders are big enough to take care of this themselves. I wouldn't want to be that focal point. You wouldn't.
No.
Here are the keys to heaven. You take the keys. I don't want the keys to heaven. Would you? Come on. So, I mean, this is a unified effort. That's what the overarching lesson in the whole thing over all this time has been. This has been a raising of, out of necessity, a raising of people's individual power and awareness, which has ultimately a very spiritual aspect individually. So when more and more people start doing this, which is the way the economy is actually supposed to be working, there will be a watershed of blissful awakening and a whole new way to look at life as a whole, not just individually. It won't be just like the best kept secret among neighbors, friends, and associates. It'll be everybody will be on this vibe of awareness and reality, and all of a sudden, imagine what that does for our broader sense of things. So things get bigger and bigger, not smaller and smaller. The only thing that gets smaller from this point on are the balances that these people say that you have. But the world gets bigger, life gets bigger by stepping into your power and who you really are. It's a bigger thing than just financial or commercial. When you understand that you are the money, it's profound. So there's a lot of the serious respect that goes into not only understanding this for yourself, but helping other people understand it for themselves. It's not about celebrity status or being the focal point for me. So that's why it may seem like I'm a little shy, but really, I went through the ringer in publishing this book back in 2010. That was some of the biggest proof for me, seeing how trying to do this as a business, sell this in printed version through direct mail and that type of thing. The merchant banks that would let me take people's credit cards, and the depository banks where I would deposit all of the revenue from the business. It scared the crap out of them. They tried to put me out of business. They did.
Well, exactly.
I got put through the ringer for bringing this to the awareness of a lot of people all of a sudden at once after years, and I really should have thought through a little bit, I think, before, so now I'm a little bit more wary than before. Not to cast any aspersion on you, I just mean in general, because what I've already gone through in order to have the effect that I've already been able to have to help people wake themselves up with this stuff. So I'm so proud and honored to be in a position where you want to talk to me about it and that type of thing. That feels great, but I really just am not about blowing up who I am, my face, and to try to become like I'm some big shot. I'm not. I'm as humble as you can get, and a lot of that has been by force because I have been through the ringer to bring this to more people.
Yes, I believe it. I mean, we haven't been really experiencing the things that you have, but I think the reason is because you were one of the front runners in this whole entire thing. So we're not. I think you blazed a little trail there for me. Thank God.
Holy moly! See, I mean that wasn't necessarily the intent. It's very rewarding to hear that, but in the present moment, since 2010, there have been some very, very. You wouldn't believe it. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't believe it. It sounds like a movie script.
Well, it does sound like a movie script. I don't think anybody would believe it. Between the stuff that's going on in the government now that you can see all over the place, and this, it's just like everything that you ever thought was real isn't real.
Right. That's why the importance of getting in touch with who you really are, what you really represent, what it means to be a U.S. citizen. You got to be firmly in touch with that, because you stand. There's at least a potential of getting lost and caught up in it.
Right.
Really, you're needing to become more focused in your awareness.
Exactly.
And it creates humility. It creates a spiritual path that you may have not realized you've been walking upon, and it makes the essence of life grow more fond for you. So, time slows down a little bit, but I'm telling you, since I first self-published this in 2010, after researching and putting it into practice, there were times when a second would drag on for weeks because of the things that I went through that I never thought about when I first got into this. And really, that's why I said I should have maybe thought about it a little bit, because there were some hairy points. So hopefully it's supposed to be easier. It's supposed to be in everybody's consciousness and everybody doing it month in and month out, or once and done. So thanks for saying that, because nobody's ever really said that to me. Like, maybe that wasn't the intent. I wasn't trying to be the big stud or anything like that. I just was like, hey, man, people need to know, and boy, I could start a business and doing this, and I could really help some people getting it done and being a service to the community. But it got attention of corporate interests, especially in banking. They were like, what are you trying to sell people? No, you can't anymore.
Well, exactly. I mean, I find this process is really interesting, and people have these some of these questions, but I don't think I think it's because they're not understanding the underlying thing here. Like some of them are asking me, what about criminals? Can they, like if you have a criminal record, if you have felonies, it has nothing to do with your debt, as far as I know.
Well, actually, any type of verdict in court is a claim of debt. So
exactly.
This applies to civil court judgments. It applies to criminal court judgments. That's where maybe it can get a little bit dangerous, because if you know how to present the right paperwork and how to speak the right legalese,
right,
you can settle those types of debts through the court system too. So, you got to be careful, because it does apply to any claim of debt. That's from the court, that's from that's from the phone company, that's from the TV company, that's from your mortgage. Any claim of debt. And when something comes down in court as a judgment or a ruling, it is a debt. It's financial in the court system.
Exactly. I think some of the people are becoming more aware of it, but it's sometimes hard for them to wrap their mind around the fact that, well, it's just like the scripture says, you're in the world but not of it. So, I mean, I just really don't understand any other way to explain it, but that's how you are.
That's true. There are facets to life, all right? We are spiritual people. We have a psychological aspect, a physical aspect, a circulatory function, right? There's a financial and commercial aspect of life. There's a romantic aspect of life, if you're lucky. Right? There are all these spokes on the wheel of life. You need to understand what they are, become aware of them, and understand the divisions between them. We talked about it a little while ago. A lot of people think the thing getting the bill in the mail is them. It isn't.
Yes.
It's a legal entity. There are two of you. There's the living soul that was born to loving parents, and then there's the resulting commercial entity that was created after the fact through the SS5 application after you were born.
Yes.
The entity that was created through the SS5 application is what gets the bills. You're the administrator for that account. You're the benefactor, the agent, and the authorized representative for that thing.
Right.
Which legally, technically, is your U.S. citizen. You aren't a U.S. citizen, you have one.
Right. That's what I keep saying. Exactly the same thing. That you are already a sovereign being. It's the straw man who's part of the corporation who is considered a citizen. That's exactly what I keep saying.
The thing that does all the commerce, the thing that does all the business, even at your job, the thing that purchases all the goods and services, whether it's by going into debt or not, is the legal commercial entity, which is represented by your name in all capital letters and the attached number of the Social Security number. The living soul is you.
Yes.
They're separate venues. They're separate spokes on the wheel of life, but at the core of the wheel of life is you, your soul, your spirit, and then your physicality, and then your psychology and your commercial life and your romantic life. It all springs forth from you.
Yes. Without you, there's nothing. It doesn't exist.
Right. So our original signatures on these presentments turns the whole bill into $10,000 of new money to be injected into the economy and to be settled to an even balance zero through the Treasury, as far as that debt claiming corporation is concerned. So I'm real concerned that I'm over-explaining it or I'm being complicated.
Oh, I don't think so.
I think just hearing it over and over and over again is what helps pierce through people's consciousness, so they start to think about it like that for themselves a little bit and look at their bills and really start to have that. You got to get to that aha moment and go, oh. That's why I think it's so important to go look at the bill and the payment coupon. Get your pay stub, put it next to it. Imagine the paycheck is still on there instead of deposited in the bank, and see, they're really not that much different.
Well, what about, so when you send in a presentment, what do you send in the package when you do it?
With a marked up bill with the payment coupon attached and endorsement part number 2 on it.
Okay, so do you send all of the pages or just the first page?
because it is true, especially with utility companies or like a phone bill, there are more than one page, that has different disclaimers or disclosures on it or reference information. But then you have the money page,
right,
which is where you have the breakdown. It's usually like at the top 2/3 above the perforations, where here's the balance, here's the due date, here's the payment, here's if you paid, and the payment if you want to have it paid in 3 years maybe, and then the breakdown of maybe your payment history or the activity in the account, and then the bottom third below the perforation is the actual payment coupon. That's where endorsement part number 2 is described and dissolve your debt actually goes into what you write and how you do it and where you sign and that kind of thing. Once endorsement 1 and endorsement 2 are done, it's ready to be sent into one of the 3 specific offices of the IRS. Now, a lot of times people have more than one bill. They got the phone bill, the utility bill, credit card bill. So if it's more than one ready to go all at once to Ogden, Utah address or wherever, you put them all together in the same package separated by a piece of legal paper.
Okay.
All right. And you separate them with a sheet. You got 4 or 5 different percentages in there. You send it into one of the addresses, not to all 3.
Okay.
Give it some time to process. The next time you get the same round of bills, maybe 30 days later, you do the same thing, stack them up, put them in an envelope, send it to the next IRS address, maybe Kentucky or DC this time, and complete that cycle. You're sending them new money. Don't let them play a game with you. Don't let them persuade you to think that your awareness level is incorrect. You are turning that thing into whatever amount, and you're sending it to them, and that is injected into the economy as new money. We are the source of it. That's why this works. It's huge to understand it. Like I said, that's the biggest part. It's the disbelief. What? That's people overcomplicate it in their mind because how profound it actually is amazing. I'm the money. What are you kidding me? Yeah. That's why they do this. Legally, they got to send you a payment coupon.
Yeah, they have to.
They got to give you the remedy to do it. And that can come in the form of the actual payment coupon or enough blank space to write it in and sign it correctly. Turn it into one.
Right.
That piece of paper, just like the promissory note at the settlement table for your new home purchase. You turn that promissory note into the purchase value of the new home, $350,000. The same thing's happening with your credit card bill or your insurance bill or your phone bill. So let those pieces connect. Let those pieces connect in your mind so you can see what you're really capable of. It's stepping into your own core value. Maybe that's beyond what public schools could have taught. Maybe it has required them to put a system into place that necessitates you going into debt, going through the heck of it, coming out the other end and searching for the actual solution, realizing how messed up it is. Maybe there's that evolutionary spiritual aspect to it. Maybe they put that into the New Deal. So I wouldn't be surprised because it changed everything. It changed everything, and it's been before you were born, most likely. That's why, I like to say that the folks that need this information the most, in my experience, and typically are the oldest people, the people that have been trying to deal with that the longest. Some of the fastest, earliest purchasers of Dissolve Your Debt in 2010 were just the average, normal, older person in the middle of the country that has been suffering the longest. They were like, holy crap, finally. Let me get that. We also see it in younger people that are just getting into their commercial world and they go into college and they got the credit cards like I did. And then there's plenty of people in between that are dealing with trying to make their living expenses and their debt payments. Like I said, I see it all the time. People sacrifice groceries in order to make sure credit card bills and the insurance is paid and all these other things. You can't. You got to keep them separate. Stand in your power. Start acting as a creditor. The corporations claiming the debt sure have no problem doing it. So you need to step into that corporate commercial mindset like they are. That's how you defeat debt claimers, by becoming one yourself.
You're cutting out a little bit here. On this debt relief, some of you guys are asking me about houses and cars. Yes, you can use this on houses and cars. You can use it all over the world. So that means that if that's true, you could buy a house anywhere in the world and do a debt discharge. Jonathan, are you there? Yeah.
Yes, I am. I don't know why it's dropping. I am on a cell signal now. Sorry about any disconnection there. But
that's okay.
Look, like I described a little bit earlier, When you go to the settlement table to purchase the home, to finally be done with the whole thing, when you sign the promissory note, it pays for the house.
Right.
You only go into debt when you sign the last couple pages, the mortgage financing agreement, when you're coerced to go into debt on what you have owned free and clear since you signed the promissory note at the beginning, and you agree through coercion to certain terms, a certain payment, certain interest for a certain length of time. That's when you start getting the bill in the mail. You don't have to do that. If you know how to be a creditor, once you don't have to sit there and sign all the settlement documents right there. There's called a 3-day right of rescission. So you say, okay, thank you, settlement attorney. Thank you, real estate agents. Here's the paperwork. I'm going to take this and review it with my attorney or with my spouse or whatever. I'll see you in another day or so. Go home, endorse the promissory note like you would any other bill, register it, notarize it, bring it back to the settlement table and get the keys without signing the mortgage financing agreement. They're interloping. Mortgage financing companies are interloping, and they're trading off of the copies of the promissory note. They destroy the original after making copies, and that's what they trade from servicer to servicer. You got a mortgage. 1 month it's with this lender. It's been with this lender for years. All of a sudden, you get a notice that it's gone to this servicer. Now you're making your payments over here. Well, they've gotten a copy of the promissory note now, and they're feeling justified in claiming the debt, and you making the payment to them. Perhaps they purchased it in bulk. So the promissory note pays for the home. It pays for the car.
Right.
The financing is through coercion. That's what puts you into debt on the thing. So the commercial world is bigger and broader than just what we call banker's acceptance for value, dissolving your debt.
Mm-hmm.
It's bigger than just that. Remember, like we talked about with the secured party, you can start doing other commercial things like writing bonds and promissory notes, and all these different types of functions become available to you. They always have been. You just got to step into that power. And that takes voluntary education, asking the right questions, noodling it through yourself, and going through a little internal process to allow yourself to become more aware, allow your perception to shift correctly into how you handle the commercial realm of life. That spoke on the wheel appropriately. By majority, we've been doing it all wrong. That's why we all face these problems. That's why our economy is so upside down.
Exactly.
I mean, it just goes on and on and on. The way to reverse this is that for more and more people start doing it right, doing it correctly, and we all have the opportunity to. It's very easy to learn how to do it. The stakes are profound. What it's allowing you to do, perhaps practically, financially, are big deal. But really, what you write on the things, on these bills, is very simple. It's simple once you know how to do it. But again, like we talked about, you'll never figure it out. You'll never figure it out on your own. You have to figure out, you have to be taught how to specifically endorse the bills. With endorsement 1 and endorsement 2, then it's ready to go.
Well, here's another thing, another question here that somebody had. Where is that question? Oh, it was who are we talking to? This is Jonathan Hawley. He wrote the book Dissolve Your Debt, and it's really very informative. It's more like a manual for those who want to learn what accepted for value is and get some debt relief, because there's a lot of people. I'm surprised how many phone calls we get and how many people email me all the time about how much debt these people are in.
Yeah, debt-based economy produces what? A lot of debt. I see it day in and day out by the dozens and dozens, individually, let alone as an overall company. Everybody's immersed in it, no matter what the background or what their individual culture might be. The unifying agent is we're all under the same debt-based economy. We're also getting the same types of bills in the mail, and by a very large degree, we don't know what to do with them. So while we do it wrong, we do what our parents taught us. They were wrong themselves because that our previous generation didn't know, right? We tear off the payment coupon, put it into their free envelope they send to millions of people, write a check for the exact same amount, put that in, pay the thing twice, think we're doing the right thing.
I'm not
Ignoring
really...
how we're...
Yeah, exactly. I'm not exactly sure what this question means. Sometimes you're asked if you have ever discharged a debt. Are you considered a bankruptcy type person? I'm not really sure what that means. So if you can clarify that a little bit, maybe we can get you an answer on that. And also, some of them want to know if you do consultations.
Sure. You can email sales at Dissolve Your Debt. It'll get through to me, and we can arrange something like that.
Okay.
Really, the purpose of the meeting, because I'm one guy. right? And I'm
Yeah.
a regular dude.
Yeah.
Guy, man, bro. I'm a person like you. So the purpose of the manual was to try to multiply my efforts as much as possible to be applicable and relatable to as many people coming into this for the first time as I could. So the manual is 100 pages, and it breaks it down in a very explicit, easy to digest and then use information. You could be doing it tonight at dissolveyourdebt.net. Go get it.
Yes.
Not expensive. It's not. I've given more for free away than you
Yeah.
would believe.
I know.
It's people's. We're talking about people's birthright type of thing. So I'm not trying to become a superstar millionaire. It's all me type of thing, because I would pay one hell of a karmic bill for trying to perpetrate like that. Number one, and number two, it wouldn't really be a service to be coming at it from that intention. It's not. It's to awaken your ability, individuals' ability to do this for themselves. But I can consult with you. If somebody needs a little one-on-one hand-holding, and I can understand why, to help see through that veil a little bit or see things appropriately, clearly, we can arrange that. Sales@dissolveyourdebt.net.
I just put that up there, so hopefully you guys are looking at that in the chat room. I just put sales@dissolveyourdebt.net. You're going to want to get a hold of him, because I'm telling you right now, I read that book and I started sending my stuff in, and I think it works great. And it's really not that difficult to just follow the steps that are in the book. So, now I'll tell you what I put in mine. I put in a cover letter, the endorsed presentment, and the UCC1 copy of course, and a copy of the Walker F. Todd affidavit. I don't know if you've read that or not, but that's what.
Very powerful. That testimony is key.
Exactly.
Read that. I think you put that link in. Just go download it. Read that. Allow yourself to expose yourself to that. Absorb it. You wouldn't believe. I mean, this is public record testimony. Okay?
Yeah. Exactly.
That describes how the banking system works.
Yes.
It'll help you connect dots, so you can see why you can do this with your bills. It's right there.
Yes.
But complacency is born out of disinformation, being beat up over years, being sympathetic to these creditors after all these years because they've been so important in your life. Get past all that stuff and, awaken the giant within already. U.S. citizens are extremely important. We're the money. Be the money. Be the money. Be the money that you are. But you got to realize it first. You can't put the cart before the horse. So wake yourself up a little bit with this. I think that you wouldn't be paying attention to April's channel if you weren't in that process. You weren't wanting to do it, or you weren't already there. That's why you're here. So let me encourage you on that path to continue. Don't stop yet. You're not all the way there. Keep going. It's right there. It's right there.
Do you find that people are still scared even after they know all the information? Because I'm getting a few people in here that say, well, it makes me nervous to file things like that. They're afraid to rock the boat and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it can be. I completely understand. I went through it myself. But the circumstances were present enough for me to move past that and worry about my greater good. And overall, the greater good of the nation. The more people that know this, get past the fear and do it, the better the economy will work. Personally and privately. Because personally, individuals will be out of debt. When the individual U.S. citizens are out of debt, what happens to the national debt?
Yeah, exactly.
It dissolves away. The reason the national debt on that famous ticking clock, that debt clock in New York, spinning forward by hundreds of thousands of dollars a minute, right? Maybe more.
Right.
Is because we are all trying to pay our debts with other instruments of debt. You cannot pay a debt with another debt like a $100 bill. What is a $100 bill?
It's just another, well, I always call it like it's a debit credit thing. It's just another paper. It's not gold.
The money that we earn from our labor.
Yeah.
They're promissory notes. A promissory note is an instrument of debt. It's a promise to pay at some point in the future. It's not backed by a tangible value like gold. It's backed by all U.S. dollars, in any denomination, are backed by the faith, spirit, and energy of the U.S. citizen that lives and works here. That's why you're the money and I'm the money.
Right.
So you cannot take $100 from your labor you earned at your job and go pay $100 dinner bill, because a $100 bill can't pay a $100 bill. That increases the national debt by $200. That's why the clock is spinning forward so fast. Everybody out in the country, middle of nowhere in Oklahoma, somebody goes and pays $20 bill for a $20 bill of gas in their car, just increase the national debt by $40.
Exactly.
So when we start dissolving our debt correctly and we get out of personal debt, there is no more tremendous trillions of dollars of national debt spinning and spinning, growing and growing second by second, because we're getting out of our individual debt. It goes beyond our house, our individual households, our lives. It affects us all. Benefit and succeed and become a prosperous nation again, and perhaps can revert back to, an industry-based model instead of where it's nothing but service-based and things are outsourced overseas to other commercial country entities, corporate entities, right? So there's more to do than just here for yourself, but it starts with you fixing what's going on in your own, financially, commercially, to have this impact on your neighbors, friends, and the rest of the country, the rest of the world. Many of which, how many folks will never even know about or be aware of, but we're touching them too now. It's a nice thing. Thank you for allowing this to happen.
Some people are asking about what kind of pushback do you think you might get? What are the pushbacks from once you file these presentments? What have you experienced or seen as some of the pushbacks people are getting?
None. The only pushback I have had that I described a little bit earlier in partial detail was when I tried to mass publicize this kind of like as a business entity, to publicize this reality and this truth to help other people. That's when they started to push back. I wrote this after researching it and putting it in practice, and I self-wrote it in 2010. First time ever trying to be an author, sold it through direct mail. Thousands of them were sold in months.
Exactly.
That got their attention. Like I said, at the merchant banks that let me take people's cards, and at the depository banks where I would deposit revenue to run the business. That's where I started to get pushback. You can't teach people about this in mass? It scared the crap out of these types of financial institutions. That's where the pushback has been. Anything I did to dissolve my own individual personal debt, not a bit. Not a bit.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
The worst thing I got was like a fraudulent filing, quote unquote, letter from the IRS.
Yeah. Some people have gotten that too. It was so ridiculous.
It's a request for money. It's basically an in disguise claim of debt. We need a $5,000 donation. I marked it up, sent it back in, never got another one.
Yeah, see what I've noticed on these ones that say this may be a fraudulent filing, and they're like using the terminology that means we don't know, we're not sure. And when they say the word fraudulent, the person who's reading it only sees fraud. What are you talking about, fraud? They don't see the maybe, could be, not sure if, it's possible that. I'm like, wow, I'm reading the whole sentence, not just the one word.
Right. You got to really look at what they're actually saying in full thought form, sentence form, paragraph form, not the individual buzzwords.
Yes, and they're very...
The words that we use are very, very critical. That's why what you put in endorsement 1 and endorsement 2 are so critical.
Yes,
you got to follow
is.
a protocol, a certain level of formatics to have it be correct. But that's why, everything that's used in that enforcement corporate commercial entity that we call the court system, that's why they use their own separate language. Words that we would, perhaps recognize have a completely different meaning in that venue. And we got to kind of understand that more and more, because the particulars are very important. So these fraudulent filing letters are using language in a very particular way in order to have a certain level of effect, but really it turns out to be like a test. Is this person really a creditor standing in commerce now, or are they still in a debtor mindset? The debtor mindset reads it one way.
Yes.
The creditor mindset sees the whole message.
Okay.
And sees it for what it is, and that fraudulent filing letter is basically a claim or request, so you can send them a gift.
Yes.
Send the IRS a gift because they need it, because only a small percentage of the people are doing things right. and fueling the economy correctly. So they need any additional funds that you're able and willing to send them with your pen.
Exactly. Okay, so one person wants to know, what's the importance of a blue pen versus a black pen? And the other one is the Social Security question. So I'm going to let's do the first one first, and then we'll get to the other one.
Well, you can really tell. When you use a blue ink signature, you can tell that it's the original.
Mm-hmm.
A black signature, maybe it's a copy, we don't know. But it also goes into that bit more of an esoteric era because, the whole notion of blue bloods.
Yes.
Right? That elite 1%. Look at your veins in your forearm, what color are they?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
What's the driving force of our physicality, and what are we really able to do commercially? So it's kind of like, putting a bloody thumbprint or the baby's footprint on the birth certificate.
Right.
It's indicating a live, living soul with this U.S. citizen and the capacities that come along with it has created this as original issue new currency.
Right.
This is new money.
And you're creating with that blue ink signature, guys. That's the thing. And, okay, so the Social Security question. I get this all the time. Will this disrupt their Social Security or the disability?
No, that's beneficiary income.
Exactly.
Just like the status you have over that legal title is the beneficiary. You're the beneficiary of the goods and the services that going into debt can provide you, but it's a separate, distinct thing. So it has no interruption in any type of beneficiary income you receive. That's a different level of things that you're due. That's also part of a birthright type of a thing, right? Which is the overall thing that we're pointing out. This all points back to birthright. That's when it all started for you and me and everyone.
Well,
so
exactly.
It doesn't interrupt any level of beneficiary benefit. Actually, it expands upon it. So this is just another aspect or level of your beneficiary authorized representative agent status. So, no, it's not going to... Again, that beneficiary income is meant for your prosperity. It's meant to help you meet your living expenses. It's not meant to be turned around and given to debt claimers. They've all been prepaid. That's why they're sending the payment coupon.
Yeah, I don't think people sometimes understand the difference between of what they're actually asking of them to do when they're sent these presentments. One guy, he was so funny. He was saying they're sending you these presentments, they're presenting you something, hoping that you're going to pay it like an idiot.
Yeah, they are. But legally, they're bound.
Right.
Technically, factually, historically, they're bound. So in reality, the whole purpose of that gesture is to settle their ledger, but they're capitalistic, profit-seeking corporations. So their intent behind that legal binding is to profit and gain. So if you're, I'm not going to say you're stupid enough, but if you're unaware enough to continue to let it go the way that they want it to go, then they're happy to let you continue to do that for as long as they hate to see you go. They know that they know your value.
Yes, they do.
You don't know your value. It's us. It's we that don't really know who we are, what our standing is, what we're capable of. Because a lot of it has to do with people not being aware of the distinctions between these different levels or aspects of life, specifically the commercial and financial one. There's meant to be this buffer. You're not supposed to be personally liable. But people are moral. They take it to heart. They feel responsible. They think they're getting stuff for free. It makes them feel guilty. It's not, you're not getting stuff for free.
Oh, I've heard that so many times.
Yeah, you're not getting stuff for free. You're getting what your just desserts are. You're getting your birthright.
Yeah.
Your birth paid for all the stuff you're going to need over the course of your life.
Oh,
money you earn from your labor is for prosperity and gain and moving forward and expanding, not turning around and paying prepaid debt claimers.
Right. Now, Lucy, she says, I'm having a hard time understanding where this money is coming from. Why do we have this value?
Birth certificate.
Did you hear that, Lucy? It's coming from your birth certificate. She doesn't, I'm guessing she's not aware of how money is created or how commerce is done. Can you explain just like, I mean, it's
so.
like,
I mean, how many classes do they teach? How many bachelor's degrees is that kind of information a part of? None. It's geography lessons. I'm not saying that's unimportant, but this vastly important aspect has been kind of brushed aside from the mass consciousness for the profit and gain of these debt-claiming corporations that love getting paid twice or multiple times for the same thing over and over again. We're the source of new money. When we're born, that birth is registered on a birth certificate, which is a bond. A bond is a financial instrument.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge, unlimited piece of money or value. All of our birth certificates, the originals, are kept on deposit, are deposed at the Department of Vital Records. They have been openly traded on the New York Stock Exchange since you were a month-old baby. That's been the same for me and every other living person in perpetuity, going back generations, decades. So all of these natural births that have been registered as a result of loving parents, right?
Right.
Have been registered on financial documents, financial instruments, bonds that have been held and openly traded by the New York Stock Exchange and earned money, interest for the United States of America, which is a corporate entity. United States of America is a corporation that is registered in Delaware. It is headquartered in Puerto Rico, Richport.
Yes, that's true.
America is the nation.
Yes, that's true. Here's another question that someone has. First of all, can you pay off a loved one's debt? And second, I've had this question many, many times. What if two people are on one mortgage? Then what do you do?
Okay. First, yes, you can settle somebody else's debt using your information. They just got to be willing to give you the bill or be unwilling for you to teach them how to do it themselves.
I get that all day.
Number two, if it's a joint account, any U.S. citizen that's attached to it, where I'm speaking in terms of U.S. citizens,
Yes.
that's probably who we're reaching, but
Yes.
any legal entity that's attached to that commercially can do it for both parties.
Yes,
All
that's...
U.S. citizens have unlimited credit, so you can do it for your debt, you can do it for corporate debt, you could do it for the nation's debt, you could do it for your neighbor's debt.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why you wouldn't use someone's name that's already on the bill, because it's so easy to do. So it kind of seems kind of silly not to use theirs, but hey, whatever, if that's what you want to do.
Let's say, example, you've got, your Aunt Betty.
Yeah.
And she, she's on oxygen, she's in a wheelchair, she watches Wheel of Fortune. She's at that stage of her life, it's Jeopardy, then Wheel of Fortune, and then it's Merv Griffin. I don't know. But, I mean, she's in her ways, she's 85, she doesn't have time to learn, she doesn't care about it. Here's the bill. Do it for her. She'll be the beneficiary of that. And you will too. So, yes, you can. And if it's a joint account, there's more than one name on the bill, more than one person, more than one legal title. You do it for you, and it'll affect both parties. Very simple. Don't overthink it. Just get over the fact that it's possible, that it's real, and then you're able to see things so much more clearly. You're willing to let yourself to. Prior to you giving yourself permission, it's going to seem like, hey, I can't even believe this. And I understand. I've been through that. I went through that. And then I also, unknowingly, not thinking about it, that went through with and for other people, too, as I started to make this book available to people, and more and more people started doing it. Huge. And it was all one me doing it. So that was a mistake. I admit it. I am not perfect. I learned a lot of lessons by doing this, but I started, and it's had an impact. So I'm so grateful to have been part of it in any form or fashion. But again, it's not all on one person's shoulders, because one person couldn't. This is a huge picture involving everyone, and it's getting more and more to that point. And it's going to take all of us. It really is. It can't be one person doing it. We wouldn't want it to be. It's going to take everybody to fix what's been going on, personally and nationally. So that's where we're coming from here. All of us. So it's a big thing, and I could go on and on. I don't want to ramble. Are there any more specific questions? Because I could get going.
Well, somebody wanted to know this. If you're in foreclosure, can you take the promissory note and submit it for A for V?
Well, yeah. But you could also be doing that with the bills that they're sending you monthly, so you don't get to the point of foreclosure.
Well, that's
The
what
reason
I'm
it gets-
thinking.
You get to the point of foreclosure by not standing in honor as a creditor in commerce, by ignoring notices, by not knowing what to do, by trying to apply money from your labor to it, not having enough, and just saying, throw my hands up, I'll just hope they go away, which they don't.
Right. They're not going to go away because they think you're scared of them anyway, especially when you don't respond.
They hope that you are. But see, that's where it gets into more of the legal aspect. When it comes to offer and acceptance, it's based off of laws. It's based off of public policy. It's based off of doing good commerce honorably. But when somebody is making a request or sending a notice and you don't respond, that's called tacit acceptance. And in the eyes of the law, you're agreeing to what they're saying by not responding, so what they say goes. And then all of a sudden you get a summons to go to court on a specific day and time because they're going to try to get a judgment. You don't show up, and then they get a summary judgment because what they said goes. They're the only ones that attended.
Well, exactly.
So they get a judgment, then they can start garnishing wages or filing foreclosure or putting on a commercial lien. So the problem comes out of not knowing what to do, not knowing how to respond. When you say nothing, their way goes. That's very dangerous, and it's very profitable for them because people are scared. They don't know what to do. They don't want to deal with it. Throw their hands up and go turn on whatever junk. I don't watch. Do you watch TV?
Once in a while. Not very often.
Me. I watch it. You're it. I'm watching you. Right? That's why the internet has become so great. You can choose your own programming. So start to do that and apply it to the financial, commercial aspect of your life and choose your own programming. Choose what you spend your time on and don't let it be wasted by commercial messages and drivel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, I barely watch TV. I mean, it's like a wasted device in my house taking up space. I barely turn it on.
Yeah, we usually watch YouTube. I mean, I don't have cable or anything like that. I don't have satellite or any of that stuff in my house anyway. So we're usually watching YouTube anyway and learning things. And if it has to do with the band, we're listening to music. So, we don't really have time for TV.
Good. Life is a rich tapestry. There are many moving parts and components that are all prepared to provide the awareness of the bounty that you are entitled to. But TV is a trap, getting wrapped up in celebrity gossip. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
It's distraction from what's important.
Exactly.
So dial yourself in and take some voluntary time to figure your stuff out and let this assist you in whatever way that it possibly can.
Agreed.
All the way up to being debt-free. I don't do debt. I don't carry debt. Other than using the money that I earn from my labor to purchase living expenses, which are a form of debt. See, that's the thing. Every earned by labor dollar, whether it's beneficiary income, fixed income, Social Security, disability, unemployment insurance, or from labor to job, we go into 3 levels of debt for each dollar that we get.
Well, it's amazing how much your signature is really worth, because it seems like, all this paperwork that you do, the bottom line is they want that signature on something, because that's the part that's the valuable part of the entire deal, whatever it is you're making.
They literally trade and monetize our signatures. You take a bill. The total balance to Citibank Visa is $10,000. You mark up the presentment for $10,000. You sign it. You turn that bill with the payment coupon still attached into a $10,000 bill, a negotiable instrument.
Right.
When you send that into the IRS, they do their administrative duty. You've just injected $10,000 new dollars into the economy, the world economy.
Exactly. Well, let me ask you this. Okay, guys, listen, we've got looks like 7 minutes left with Jonathan Hawley. And he's the one who wrote the book, Dissolve Your Debt. So if you want to get your questions in, get them in now, because he's very knowledgeable on this subject, and he's been doing it for a long time. And I think it's very valuable. What's the difference between, Robert has 2 questions. One, do you file taxes? And I'm guessing if you do, you would just use accepted for value on that, correct?
Well, you can. You can, but you can also do your due diligence. commercially and realize that income taxes are a voluntary thing.
Yes, they are a voluntary thing. And the other one, he said, he had another good question there. Oh gosh, where is that? It was really good. Oh my gosh. They're scrolling up these questions so fast.
Are they really? Oh,
yes.
That's so exciting.
Oh my gosh. Well, Robert, you're going to have to post that again because I didn't see it. They wanted to know if you actually have a book in print.
I actually did used to sell it in print, but because of the issues that the merchant processing bank and the depository banks put in place, they put me out of business twice.
Yes.
I went through hell and back.
I'm sure.
I brought it all online. So it's through my website at Dissolve Your Debt. It's just a PDF download. It's very simple.
Yes, it is. It's very simple. Okay, here's a good question. Can we ask for the reinstatement fee and submit even though not done with setting up the TDA? That means going through all their paperwork. And I would guess that you can ask for a reinstatement fee to be done through accepted for value, if that's what you're talking about. I'm not really sure what that question is.
I'm not quite sure either, but it makes me think of there is something called a 1099 OID through the IRS. It's a specific tax form. And what this allows you to do every fiscal year or every quarter is actually, I don't know if you heard this when you were growing up, but it was like, hey, keep your receipts. Keep your receipts.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that a million times.
Because you can recoup every dollar that has gone into or out of commercial bank account or credit union every fiscal year by filing a 1091. So you can recoup any of those types of costs, any type of costs, whether it's for debt or living expenses that have gone through a commercial banking entity every fiscal year. So do a little research into the 1099 OID. You can actually download the form off of the IRS website.
Yes, you can.
It allows you to recoup your money.
I know, isn't that crazy? We've got 4 minutes left, guys. So like I said, get your stuff in here. And no, it's not just for Americans. It's for people all over the world. You can do this same exact thing. How far back can you go with receipts? Lucy wants to know.
As far back as
you have them, I guess.
As long as it's an open and active unpaid balance claim of debt, then that it's still liable to be paid or settled or discharged or dissolved. It's still owed, quote unquote. The terminology of the words again, but I mean, you need to still take care of it and address it. That's what a creditor would do.
Yes, there was another question that was there was another question earlier, and I meant to ask you this. What if it's online? Your payment, the way the payment is online or in an email. What do you do with it then?
Oh, what another important topic. Why do you think there's been this move to make everything
I know, exactly.
They don't want to send you the payment coupons anymore. They want to say, hey, I don't want to do that. Don't opt for that.
Yes.
I want the bill. Why would you not want the bill in the mail when you know it's got a check on it?
Yes, exactly. Okay, this person is in foreclosure, date for case 4-5, in and out of foreclosure. What can we do when there's a foreclosure pending?
Ask them for a payoff presentment.
Oh, yes, that's right. Ask them for a payoff presentment. I hope you heard that because that's very, very important. If you get that payoff presentment, then you can use that for accepted for value, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be just like another bill in the mail.
Yeah. So, and also if you get a bill, now this is what I do because my electric bill, which is kind of interesting, they send it to us in an email, but then they also I can download it if I want to. So I downloaded it and sent it off like a regular presentment because it's actually on the bottom there.
Okay. Yeah, that's a different story. But if it's all like purely online, it's not like you can print something off or anything like that, and you got an automatic payment, you don't get anything in the mail, you can't print anything off. That's what you want to avoid because that is like, blocking yourself, and they're helping you to do that because it gets you to send the payment coupon back or pay twice or do whatever it is they want you to do. Give them access to your bank account automatically at a certain time of the month. You don't want them to have this access. It's just like you don't want to give them too much information on the phone.
Exactly.
So say, hey, send me that billing presentment. They're bound to.
Yes,
legally,
they'll have to.
They gotta do it.
They have to. Yeah.
So let them send you the remedy.
Yes. Let them send it right to your mailbox. Not done with, you don't have to get done with setting up your TDA paperwork. Just get them, tell them in writing. I would do it in writing and say you want a payoff. Everything you do, you've got to do it in writing. Don't you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it is important to say, I know it is important to become a secured party creditor.
Yes,
but
UCC
you
1.
do not have to do that first.
No, you don't. Get that paper in your hand.
Yeah, because the whole banker's accepted for value aspect of commerce that we're speaking about is already set up and in place for everyone.
Exactly.
You don't have to know the advanced levels of the court or banking or how to become a secured party creditor, although it is preferred that you do that for yourself.
Exactly.
But it's meant for the layman, the laywoman, to be able to do this. That's the whole point. That's why the New Deal was put into place. It changed everything.
Exactly.
But how long ago has that been? How far out of frame of reference is that for most people? It's hard to relate way back to
Exactly.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But go back and look at the historical photos of when they signed the New Deal into place and put public policy and public law into place to be able to do this. They're very telling.
Exactly.
Go look at those black and white photos of the administration then and just look at their faces.
Right.
Holy moly, I'm getting goosebumps again.
Well, I want to thank you for this. Jonathan Hawley graciously gave us 2 hours of his time, guys. And if I were you, I would go to his site and get his book. It's Dissolve Your Debt, and his site is dissolveyourdebt.net. We don't get anything off of it here. I'm just letting you know. I'm just recommending his book because I think it's really, really good. It's a manual. It's not going to take you a whole long time to read. You can do it and probably get it done by tonight. So if I were you, I would buy that book. It's not very expensive. Just get it if you want to get out of debt. He knows what he's talking about here. And I'm going to put the links below on this video. Jonathan, I really want to thank you for coming on this show because it's so important that people get this information. I really thank you a whole lot for helping us and getting a few of these questions answered. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. It is an absolute honor and pleasure. I can't believe it. You're so nice and gracious to do this. And it really is the easiest, cheapest, simplest little thing you've ever heard about or done to get yourself out of this mess, this debt mess. You can do it. You can just do it. Contact through the website at the email address, or just go and download the stupid little thing. Read it for yourself. Look at how almost comical it is. Like I said, you could do it with a crayon. You'll almost feel silly.
It's true.
Once you sit, you'd be like, "Are you kidding me?" The whole time.
Exactly.
The whole time, I felt like the worst person in the world, getting caught up in this stuff. And when you see what it takes to actually fill out these bills that we get that come with the payment coupons, you be like, I just cannot believe that I've been allowing myself to go this long without really knowing.
Exactly.
Because it's been right there, and it's so easy to do. It really is.
It is.
Just let me reflect. It's your birthright.
It is. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll have Jonathan on again for you guys to ask him some questions. But in the meantime, you can send him an email at sales@dissolveyourdebt.net, and he will do a consultation for you if you like. So thanks once again, Jonathan, and we'll see everybody next time.
All right. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the America Matters radio show with your host, April LaJune. To read more, go to aprillajune.com, where you can learn interesting information from conservative point of view. Check out the archives and the video blog. Send links to your family and friends. Support us through patreon.com/April LaJune. And join us live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube every Sunday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time.